We left Rhea Voss in the remote part of the woods just outside the city. She was face to face with the only survivor of our suspect's killing spree. Will Ella Wright be able to give her the answers that she needs so that she'll be able to solve this case? I'm Billy Jackson. After 26 years of law enforcement, this is Jackson's Case Files, where experience meets fiction. In a cabin in the middle of the woods, a cabin purchased by Pastor Purdy's church as a safe house for victims for domestic violence, houses both Rhea Voss and Ella White. Ella has just made some tea, and they're sitting down about to have the conversation. Ella begins. I was running from a really bad situation when I met Pastor Purdy. Rhea interrupts her and says, was it Robert Taylor? Ella says yes. Now Rhea wants to make sure she hasn't been chasing ghosts, so she asks Ella, is Robert Taylor alive? Ella says no. He passed away in that warehouse. Rhea apologizes to her for interrupting her and tells her to go on. Ella continues with her story. She says, I got away from him, got a chance to talk with Pastor Purdy, and he wanted to help me. At the time, the program hadn't been put together yet, so he, along with his staff members, would move me from location to location until they could get me enough funds to get me out of the city, maybe out of the state. But it didn't work because Robert Taylor kidnapped me and held me hostage again. Rhea says, I'm very sorry about that. I wish it's something I could have done. Ella says, please, if it wasn't for you and the big detective, I wouldn't be alive today. Rhea is bothered by this statement because the situation that she's talking about, that very night that she's talking about, haunts Rhea every day. That's the last time she was working with Detective Boone. That was the time that the incident happened where she had to resign from the police department. She tells Ella, I don't remember anything about that night. I need you to tell me exactly what happened. What did you see? What went on that night? So Ella begins to tell the story. She said, I was tied up. Robert looked at me because he wanted me to leave the city with him. He knew the police was getting close to him, so he said, I'm giving you a chance to leave with me. I refused. It was something about Robert. He was changing. I really didn't know about the murders at this time, but I knew I didn't want to go and leave the city with him. He got frustrated and walked out of the room in the warehouse that we were in. Almost immediately, he bust back through the room. I know now that he knew that you and Detective Boone were coming through the warehouse looking for us. He took a big gas can, poured the gas can all over him and his body. Then he poured the gasoline around us, didn't pour it on me. He took out his gun, pointed it at me, and then he lit a lighter in his other hand. He said, I'm giving you one more chance. Leave with me. I bowed my head because I didn't want anything to happen to me, and I started crying. Just before he pulled the trigger, I heard a gunshot. I look up, and it was Detective Boone. He had shot Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor dropped, and as he was falling, he dropped the lighter. The lighter ignited the gasoline, and the flames engulfed him. If the bullet didn't get him, the flames did. And that's when Detective Boone saved us. Rhea said, hang on a second. You keep saying us. Was it you and Robert? Was somebody else in the room? Ella said, yes. It was a little boy. Rhea said, what little boy? Ella said, Charlie. Rhea was getting frustrated with these one-word answers. It's like all the answers were in Ella's head, and Rhea needed them, but Ella wouldn't talk. So instead of being upset and yelling at Ella, she says, Ella, I need you to please give me details. Who is the little boy? Who is Charlie? Ella says, I met Charlie that night, but it turns out that an earlier couple that were victims of Robert's was taken out. And when Robert took them out, their son was upstairs hiding. Instead of Robert taking the kid out, she actually took him and kept him for himself. Now, when I was tied up, I didn't notice any fear in the young man. It's almost like the relationship Charlie had with Robert was like a father-son mentor type relationship. I mean, even when Robert had the gun pointed at us, the young man wasn't afraid. It was like he was prepared. Rhea said, "What happened to the little boy when Detective Boone saved you?" Ella looked around for a second and she thought about it. She said, I'm not really sure. As soon as I got out of the door to the warehouse, the police officers outside grabbed me, took me over to the medics so that they could treat me. I didn't see where Boone and the child went. I guess I wrote it off because I thought maybe Detective Boone took him to Child Protective Services to get him looked after. Rhea began to shake her head and start thinking because she looked over all the police reports for that day. She studied that, the crime scene, the pictures. Because this case has been so close to her, there was no word about a little boy being found in that warehouse. Ella felt funny about it and said, "How can a little boy disappear from a crime scene like that?" Rhea thought about it for a second, and she said somebody at the crime scene had to have taken him out of there. And just as Rhea was about to have that picture in her face of who it could have been, a cell phone rang. She looked at her phone and saw unknown number. She answered it reluctantly and said, "Hello?" And the voice said, "Rhea." Rhea recognized the voice. She said, "Boone, I guess you're all right." Boone says, "Yeah, for an old man." Rhea says, "Where are you?" Boone said, "Let's don't talk about that right now. We don't have that much time." He said, "Don't ask me how, but I put a tracker on that van that they took you from the hospital in. And by now, I guess you're talking to Ella White. And I'm going to tell you, Rhea, Ella can give you a few answers, but she doesn't have all the answers." Rhea said, "Yeah, like the question I have about where's the little boy? Who is he? Where did you take him?" Boone said, "That's a lot of questions. I had high hopes for that young man. I thought maybe he'd become a doctor, maybe a lawyer. I actually took him to somebody who needed a family themselves. He was doing all right, had a nice place to live, growing up pretty good. But then something happened." Rhea said, "What?" He said, "Ella. Ella White was the one that got away. You see, something about that kid, thinking about his mentor, the work that his mentor had done. I think Robert Taylor was feeding a little bit more into that boy's head than any of us wanted him to. The young man was upset that one got away from his mentor. And as he got older, and I think when he reached his 20s, he was ready to go looking for Ella White." Rhea asked, "Is Charlie the man in black?" Boone responded, "He did kill those pastors. One by one, he was looking for Ella White. And he got to Pastor Purdy. That night, I had a feeling he was going to go after Pastor Purdy, and that's why I was out there. But I was too late." "What about the deacon found in your home? Do you think Charlie killed him?" Boone said, "I believe he did. Hit me in the back of my head, set me up because I know everything about him, and I know where he comes from, and I can tell people who he is." Rhea asked, "So why would he do that?" Boone said, "You'll have to ask him when you catch him." There was a pause, and then Boone asked, "Now, Rhea, why don't you ask me that $165 question?" Rhea responded, "Who adopted Charlie? Who did you take him to?" Boone laughed a little bit and he said, "You're going to find that out in a few hours." Rhea asked, "What do you mean?" Boone said, "I set the whole thing up for you. Everybody you're looking for is now looking for you. I put the word out there on the street that you've got the files and you're going to meet somebody from the news desk and you're going to give them the files so they can put the word out. And you're going to meet them at 9 o'clock tonight." Rhea asked, "Where?" Boone said, "Where else? The park, right across the street from Pastor Purdy's church." Rhea said, "Boone, you have got to be crazy if you think I'm going to trust you on a setup like that. I'm not risking my life on your word alone. You tried to take my life once. I'm not letting you do it again." Boone said, "I get it. My life is a little spotty. You can't really trust me. But the truth is, once the man in black, little Charlie, comes after you to get that information, he is going to take you out. I'm just telling you now so you can get you a little plan together so he won't be successful at it." Rhea says, "Turn yourself in, Boone." Boone says, After all this I've given you, all the bad guys wrapped up in a bow, this is how you're going to do me? Rhea ignores him and says, just turn yourself in. I'll tell the DA that you helped me out. You'll be cleared on these pastors' murders. Boone said, yeah, but it's a lot of other stuff that's come out that I won't be cleared on, especially what I tried to do to you years ago. Rhea says, Boone, listen. Boone says, no, I got a little freedom now. There's some things I want to put in order, take care of first before I do get caught. You can do this, Rhea. Good luck to you. And then he hangs the phone up. Rhea looks at her phone for a minute, thinking about all the things that happened back then, all the way up until right now. She looks at Ella, who has been listening to her the whole time she was on the phone. She hits speed dial and gives Bubba a call. He answers and she said, listen, I'm about to come pick you up. There's some things we need to get together, pick up, and arrange. We've got a job to do tonight. Is Rhea going to follow through with this crazy plan that Boone put together? Is she going to risk her life? Is she going to finally find out who adopted little Charlie and maybe find out who's been pulling the strings this whole time? Tune in next episode, the season finale, where all of this will be wrapped up. This is Jackson's Case Files, where experience meets fiction.